Welcome back into Trust the Profits alongside my comrades Sean and Tim as we take a first look preview. PPs have just come out for the 2025 San Felipe Stakes, once again headlined by Mr. Bob Baffert. Last year, we had a big four-horse field, which Mr. Baffert also won with a horse by the name of Imagination and finished second with a horse by the name of Wind Me Up. This year's standings, though, obviously Bob Baffert's back big. As you look at the horses that he has so far on the leaderboard, with Citizens Bull dropping down to second place behind Coal Battle with his big victory. But you got Citizens Bull, Getaway Car, Madaket Road, Gaming, and then two horses that you're going to actually see in the San Felipe, Rodriguez and Mellencamp. But those might actually not be the two that you're most excited to be or most excited to see, because there is a horse for a mere $3.2 million entered into the San Felipe Stakes, and that is a horse that many people have been talking about by the name of Barnes. First and foremost, gentlemen, San Felipe, you can't really discount it because there's points on the line, and Bob Baffert's coming through with some horses. I mean, he's getting his points the way he is, and he obviously had a nice run here in the Rebel. Sean, any first kind of thoughts when you look through the field of five?
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
I mean, obviously, I was more impressed personally. I will say this: I was more impressed with Rodriguez than I was Citizen Bull in the last race. I think the move that Umberto did with him when he kind of he let Citizen Bull go, and he actually brought him from behind, which I think was a very valuable learning experience for him. And he really did make quite the move. You see him halfway around the far turn actually take him back, and onto the outside, and which was, I think, a very valuable lesson for a young horse. And I think this guy is he was more impressive to me than Citizen Bull, and I think this guy's going to be very tough in this group. That he's by far to me the horse to beat. But obviously Barnes has done nothing wrong. And if he gets the lead very similar to Citizens Bull and nobody goes after him, it's going to be pretty hard to catch him down the lane because he's very talented. And that the last race where he just sped away was ultra impressive. So you got two really good horses here.
That's a really great point by you, Sean. We just talked about the Fountain of Youth. You could check that video out right here on the page as well. And we talked about Burnham Square and as a 3-year-old, how he made a move very similar to that, where he pulled back, circled on the outside of the field that Tim had mentioned in that race. Rodriguez doesn't catch Citizens Bull, but you just nailed that. And as you were talking about it, that's the first horse that came to my mind was Burnham Square, and a horse that maybe come from off the pace. So Rodriguez, at the very least, maybe we're paying attention here to how he's progressed since this last one, to see that style. Tim, what are your first initial thoughts?
One of the things I think we look at as handicappers a lot of the time is trainers' intent and what jockeys they're putting up on what horses. And I think we all get a sense that sometimes some of the trainers have what they would call their number one jock and then move them down accordingly. And with Baffert getting 3 horses in the race, it's like, okay, who's going where? And it's kind of interesting here because if you look at Barnes last year, his 2 races, basically you have Martin Garcia and then you had Hernandez, and Hernandez has ridden Rodriguez so far this year. And now he jumps off of Rodriguez to go on Barnes. And then the interesting thing is Pratt, who rode Mellencamp last out, gets off of Mellencamp and goes out to Rodriguez. So it's like, it's really hard to read sometimes, but I jokingly with you guys put the over under on Baffert's in this race at 2.5, and I hope you all took the over as I did, because we end up with 3 more Baffert's in here, and it seems to be par for the course since the Juvenile last year. Is that 3 Baffert's in each of these races, and it's not like they're beating up on each other. It's almost like they go into each race. If you look at how they kind of run the race based on how you've seen some of the horses run previous races, and you have to question, was there a clear intent that this is the horse that I don't want to pressure? Because if you have 3 horses that typically all want to be on the lead and only one of those out for the lead, he's not trying to beat up on his own horse with his own horses. So you have to question, well, is that a better horse? And that's one of the things, as Sean pointed out with Rodriguez, I asked myself. So there's no Citizen Bull in here, but I know there are people who believe that Barnes might be the best Bob Baffert horse. It's really a question, but I do think that it turns up interesting in this race, and as to how it's going to play out, because you have a horse in Mellencamp who does sit a little bit further back, and then you've got Barnes and Rodriguez, who both like sitting off that lead, although they both showed the lead a little bit as well. So you have to question. And oh, by the way, we can't count out Journalism, because Journalism to me is a horse that is going to be competitive in here. So the race in the field is short, but I think the San Felipe came up pretty strong.
Yeah, for what we're used to. Journalism is exactly the horse that I wanted to point out. This is a horse that I've actually had in my top 5. He went into that race in the Losel and Getaway Car and Gaming, where the Gaming was the horse that was a heavy favorite that day, and Journalism, 3-1. I'm not going to say it was a big surprise, but when you get a blue here on your past performances, for me, that's the best equibase speed figure in the race, and best equibase speed figure at the distance and the surface, and a 106 is actually a pretty big number for Journalism in that race. Now, that obviously was Losal. Sometimes those races on the West Coast come up a little bit faster, but this is an $825,000 horse with Curlin on top, and the dam is Uncle Mo. I think the distance is absolutely not going to be a problem for Journalism. Has the victory at that mile and a 16th. And he's paired, right? So that 106 to me is not something that is like a one-off, because right before that he put up a 105 at Del Mar with Gonzalez aboard. So Rispoli's back for his 3rd time aboard Journalism, a horse that could sit right off the pace and won his last race going away. So you touched upon who I absolutely am most excited about for B is Journalism. And then we have the number 5, Smooth Cruisin', a horse that was in the San Vicente, finishing 4th behind Barnes, 8.5 lengths after winning the maiden special weight first time out in October. Probably feels like one of those horses that's probably really overmatched with the other ones that we've talked about. We joke about a 6-horse field, and there's a horse that get entered, and probably is up against it in this instance at least.
This is the horse that the racing secretary went to every barn and said, "Hey, does someone want to run their horse so we can have 6 horses, not 5?" And then they said, "Okay, we'll come run."
We'll take a shot. Maybe the same thing with Berlin Wall as well. This is a horse that has run 2 state bred maiden special weights, and actually, I love this. The horse actually placed first through disqualification, so he hasn't even won yet.
Right. So, this racing secretary did a very good job making sure at least at 6.
So exciting to see Barnes come back. $3.2 million horse, because of that reason, is the one that a lot have been talking about. This sire of Into Mischief, owner Zidane Racing. That is your field for the San Felipe. Like I said, the points are up for grabs, and Bob Baffert has grabbed most of them. He's going to be coming to the first Saturday in May. We haven't had him
fully loaded and ready to come back. Yeah,
he's going to have
it's been 2 years for him.
Yeah, he's going to have a few spots in that starting gate, to say the least. Check out our preview of the Fountain of Youth happening over at Gulfstream Park, which is also on the channel, released this morning right here on Trust the Profits. Join these guys in the lounge on Thursday night, and stay tuned, as I'll have some doubling down episodes coming out for the Gotham Stakes at Aqueduct and the previously mentioned Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park. Until next time, he's Sean, he's Tim, I'm Colin. Good luck, everybody.